Okay, trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
Yes.
trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Salad.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Moving on to item B, there's a motion adopting an extension of the liquor license and video gaming renewals. I don't know if we could have a motion on this, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance adopting and approving extensions of liquor license and video gaming terminal license renewals.
I'll second that.
Very good. Discussion? Jennifer?
Trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
Yes.
trustee Lineham,
Hang on a minute. I'm having trouble here with my tablet. Yes.
trustee Mahoney, trustee,
I'm sorry, yes.
okay, trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Salad.
Yes.
Very good. Takes us on to item C, which is a new class E3 liquor license. We can have a motion on item C, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance adding a new Class E3 classification of liquor license to allow for limited package sales in restaurants.
Second.
Very good. Discussion on this?
Does this also include the gaming that's being requested? Or is it just the liquor?
This is the liquor, the gaming is item D.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Anything
brother.
else on C? Jennifer?
Okay, trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
Yes.
trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Salad.
Yes.
Very good. That takes us on to item D, which is amending the number of video gaming permits. If we have a motion on this, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the number of video gaming permits for Nono's Italian Kitchen and Cafe.
Good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. Discussion? Jennifer?
I
I had a question on this actually.
comment.
Hold on. Who's that?
Are we actually increasing the number of licenses that we're giving out through this motion?
Yes.
Why do we need to do that if the Manor is now gone? They had a license, right? And theirs would have been gone now. Why wouldn't they just take over theirs?
The way we wrote the video gaming license is the code is the same way we wrote the liquor license code, which once a business goes out of business, the number of available licenses automatically reduces so that we at no time have one available that can be handed out without village board approval.
I see.
Good
You
question.
know, I don't want to sound difficult. You know me, just I want to cooperate at every turn. However, have we even considered about the idea of just 86ing this ordinance altogether? Because we went ahead and we put in an ordinance limiting them, and we have never adhered to it. And every time somebody wants to come in and open up a restaurant or a bar or any other establishment, for some reason, everyone thinks now that in order to succeed in that business, you have to have gaming, which is just beyond me. But we're constantly doing this. What's the point of even having the ordinance if all we're going to do is amend it whenever the need arises?
I guess I'll answer that simply is that there's places that we want and there's places that we don't want. We want to encourage certain types of operations and we want to discourage certain others. For example, we have been approached by multiple people that wanted to open up just a gaming cafe or something similar on the Route 25 area. We had somebody that wanted to come into the We Buy Gold there and just put in a video gaming cafe. It's not something we're interested in. A restaurant supporting itself by having additional revenue streams is something different.
Well, that's not just picking and choosing. I mean, what we're doing is allowing business to have it and not another. I mean, I'm not in favor of any of it, to be honest with you, but we have just gaming parlors. And so, you know, if they're fitting the bill and they're fulfilling all the requirements for such a business, couldn't that open us up to any sort of legal challenge by saying, hey, you know, we don't want you, but we'll let this guy in? You know, I mean, it's a precedent that's being set and we're not adhering to it, you know? And so I'm just wondering if the argument could be made or challenged. And if that's the case, do we really want to open ourselves up to that?
I would have to answer, certainly not as a legal expert, but as a layman with some experience on this, that the same thing applies to a liquor license. You can't just say that everybody gets a liquor license and you can't turn anybody down ever. Otherwise, it's unfair to them. There's other obviously certain criteria that you're going to want to look at. So I don't see this as any different than that. This is really an extension of that.
And I'd also say that the liquor license or the gaming licenses have been granted in part based on geographic location of the business too. There's certain areas of the town that are manor, and there's other areas of the town that have other types of businesses. And, you know, Lael's example of Route 25, my guess is, I don't believe I was part of that vote, was that, you know, we foresaw a different development in that part of the town.
I would just like to note that I concur, as the village attorney, with President Miller's comments. The village has discretion as recognized by the courts when it comes to matters of issuing licenses, such as liquor licenses, video gaming licenses, and so on. And as long as you're not making denials on the basis of suspect classifications of, you know, of certain groups that you may or may not like, you do have the discretion to decide whether or not to issue these on a case-by-case basis.
I have a question. With regards to the number of gaming licenses within the River Street area, in that, how many gaming licenses do we have? Because I am getting concerned about the concentration of the number of licenses and increasing it in this area.
It's a good question. I'm not sure if I have a total number. I know that there's 5 at Diamond Gyms. I believe that there's, well, Lauren was on the call. Lauren, I know that you've got some over at River Street. Do you have 3 or 5?
There's at least 5 at Banditos.
Okay. So yeah, I don't have a total answer for you on that. We can get that.
Yeah, Catherine, we can kind of confirm this. I think if we wanna, I can always pull this during the meeting. I believe I have this in my files if you want the answer. I know that it's, Catherine, it's Calendo's, Banditos, River Street, Diamond Gyms. Is there any I'm missing?
I don't believe so.
I think that's it. I can pull it though if you'd like. I think I have it on my computer if you'd like me to.
Did Black and Gray have any?
No.
No.
But DC Cobbs has indicated that they would like one.
So the owner of the New Delhi is the same as the owner of Aliano's, is that correct?
Yep, Jim said.
And they are here? So you guys don't have machines in Aliano's, do you? Or do you? No.
You're on mute, Jim, if you want to speak.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Leo?
Yes.
Okay. No, we do not have any gaming in Aliano's, and we don't plan on it.
And why the difference there?
It's a different type of environment. It's a different type of customer experience. So we're carrying off some of the Italian concept, but we're doing it in a casual manner with sandwiches, hot and cold submarine sandwiches, soup, salad, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Not to mention which floor space is a bit limited.
Well, it's limited in the deli too, it looks like, to be honest.
So the deli is going to have liquor then?
Yeah, just beer and wine.
And how many machines are you looking for?
Fine.
We would like 5 machines, the maximum amount. At least make room for 5. I don't know if we would introduce 5 right away, but we've got the space for it.
And the space limitations, what are the space limitations when it comes to square footage per allotted machine? Does anyone know that?
I don't believe there's actual square footage allowed per machine.
Is it just per establishment, Leo?
It's, the number is per establishment, and it's, it has to be
Right.
in an area that can be controlled.
I'm gonna
No.
be honest, I'm not a fan of gaming machines. So I'm going to vote no for this, but it's my own personal objection to them. So I just wanted to be upfront about that.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Jennifer. You're
Can
on
we,
mute.
I have a question. Can we separate the liquor license out from the gaming license?
It's 2 separate ordinances. I thought it was already
We
separate.
have. Item C that you just approved is the liquor license. Item D is the video.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's always separated out. You can't have the gaming without a liquor license per the state of Illinois, but we separate them out. It's easier that way. Okay, anything
Okay.
else? Jennifer?
Okay, trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
No,
trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
No.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Philip.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion passes, Jim.
Okay, thank you very,
welcome.
very much, Mayor.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Item E is discussion and consensus. Do we need a motion on this? I guess so. Let's make a motion on this anyway. If we can have a motion on item E from somebody, please.
I'll make a motion that we have discussion and consensus on whether or not to draft an ordinance waiving development regulations to accommodate a commercial parking request being made by PAL Land LLC.
Second.
Very good. So, Jennifer, you want this?
Yes, can I back up for a second, Attorney Smith? Did we have 3 nays on the last vote?
No, I only counted 2.
It was 4-2.
4-2.
It
Okay,
was 4-2. I believe it was trustees Mahoney and Wood who voted nay.
Oh,
There we have
thank you.
4 aye.
okay. Sorry, for some reason I wrote trustee Lineham down. Sorry, trustee Lineham. Okay.
Just
Hey,
for
I'm
the
a
record.
team player. You want to come in and you want to gamble in East Dundee? Have at it.
Just for the record, Jim and Frank and you guys over there, if you want to drop off the call, we won't be offended.
Okay,
All
thanks
right?
so much, Leo.
Yep.
everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one,
Appreciate
Jim.
your time.
You guys.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next item, staff is asking for a consensus on whether or not to draft an ordinance. As indicated in the memo, there is an additional request for commercial parking within the Terra Business Park. And that would be parking where waivers are granted to allow for unpaved parking and no parking lot lighting and the various types of waivers that are in place now for the commercial truck parking. So we asked the petitioner to put their request in writing, and you have that request in writing. I don't believe that there is a time frame indicated within the letter, but there was a time frame indicated to staff of an additional time period of 2 years, but I believe that the petitioner is on the phone, and maybe they would be able to speak to that or answer any questions you may have.
So that would be Joe or Peter. If you guys want to comment on something, unmute and speak. If not, I can tell you that I had a conversation with Mr. Palumbo this afternoon, and it does not appear that this may not be a temporary thing. This may be that they, from where things are going, this may be that they would be parking vehicles there until such time as it was economically feasible to put up the next building, and then they would do so and comply with all codes.
Can I ask what sort of vehicles we're talking about putting? And
Yeah,
are we
we're
going to be
talking
able
about,
to see?
so what this is right now, due to the COVID-19, which absolutely is affecting everybody in different ways. Odessa, who is based down the road off of Beverly, they have, and for those of you that aren't familiar with Odessa, we worked to try and get them in town here for probably 4 years. They buy cars off of lease from dealers and from Hertz. They buy nice quality cars. They run them through a 120-point inspection program. These are not junkers. These are not bad cars. And then what they do is they sell them to car dealers because car dealers are always looking for a percentage of reasonably priced and nicely priced used cars for their lot. Car dealers always have to have a percentage of used vehicles because that's what attracts people. Unfortunately for Odessa at this time, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they are not allowed to do business. So what happens is they've already contracted to acquire all the cars. For example, I don't know if National is involved, but I know that Hertz and a lot of the other big ones are. So they purchase all these cars. They have a lot full of them, and they can't sell them. So what they're looking for is they're desperate to get, I don't know if desperate's the right word. They are looking to acquire extra land where they can park these vehicles until they get through this. So that is the motivation behind this. Mr. Palumbo has some property that he's recently acquired over there that's not going to be visible from anywhere. And I believe there's a farm that is adjacent to this. And so what he's asking for is, can he use this property, and temporary is, you know, whether it's 1, 2, or 4 years, we don't know at this point, just to get some extra revenue, because at the same time that he's losing some business and some revenue streams there just because of this as well too. So this is kind of, you know, can I do this just to make some business over here, with the assumption that when things go back to normal, we'll put up some buildings. That's the background as I understand it. And if I said something incorrect, then Joe or Peter are on the call and can correct me.
Thank you.
That was right on.
Good.
I have a question. I'm looking at this map that is on, I don't know, it's on page 35 of the PDF of the packet, but there's 2 lots that are highlighted, lot 1 and lot 3.
Yes.
Lyle just said that, you know, this wouldn't be seen, which I could understand for lot 3, but lot 1 seems to be right on Route 72. Is that one of the lots that these trucks would be on?
No. This particular diagram that was included is showing the development that we have added to East Dundee in the past 10 years. The area that we're talking about, the site, I believe, is on a diagram on page
Entrance is off of Penny Road.
64 of your agenda. It is titled Pal Land 2, and it is located at the north end of our property and borders Penny Road. So it is nowhere near the south borders of our property or Route 72.
Yeah, but the way things have been cleared over there on the north end, you're going to be able to see this from the road, correct?
There is a berm that borders our north end of the property. Obviously, the 2 gates are the only real visible areas off of Penny Road. And then you have ComEd directly to the east of us, and then 2 farms east of that. And then it's our property to the west and the lake on our property to the west. And then to the north, the triangle property between Penny Road and Route 68 is vacant land with a cell tower on it that we own as well.
At the end of the day, I mean, I'm wondering if this would actually, I mean, right now the land's not being used at all. So it's not generating revenue for anybody. If we allow this, which, again, you're here right in a second, I believe we should. I mean, there is a potential for it to bring more, whether it's cars or just bodies into town that are going to use the Speedway. They're going to use the Dunkin' Donuts. They're going to use all the businesses in our community that generate tax revenue. And while we're sitting here right now with a substantial portion closed and dealing with and throwing a world of hell at Jennifer with the budget, because there just aren't revenues right now. If it generates some revenues now and in the future, again, on land that's not being used, it's not going to be an aesthetically, I don't believe, like just offensive use. I mean, to the extent that it's seen at all, it's cars. You can see a lot of them on 72, and we haven't closed 72 yet. So, I mean, I don't see what the drawback of this is. Further, my suspicion is that, or actually my hope, I won't say suspicion, I'll say my hope, is that some of the revenue that could possibly be generated from this property by the landowner would probably be put into the development of the property by the landowner. So, I mean, I guess I don't see unless I hear something otherwise, and I just don't know enough not to know, I don't see what the drawback would be.
I agree with you, Scott. I mean, Joe has been great for the village. He's put millions in, and we should do this.
Yeah, I just want to make you aware of one rather recent historical note on this project was that we have been approached by other developers that wanted this on their location, and one of them wanted to do this on the Walmart parking lot, and we said no. We don't want that there. That's too visible. It's too nice of a corner. It's not something that we would prefer. But in this particular instance, I think that it's hidden away. And, Scott, you talked about what it's going to look like there. I mean, if you do an aerial view of the map there now, it just looks like a mortar testing ground. So I think covering it's probably the benefit. And again, bringing people to town, I think is I don't know how many people this particular project will bring to town, because I think it's basically going to be guys with trailers dropping the cars off over there by the hundreds and then going back and getting more. But it will support some of Joe's other businesses over there, and these people do eat lunch in town, so eat lunch, buy gas, go to restaurants.
Well, I mean, even they just buy the gas. I mean, those cars got to get fuel from somewhere, and I mean, there's going to be essentially a gas station right on the property.
Mm-hmm. And the development work that I know there was some angst about allowing the truck parking over there, but that has brought a lot of development in the last several years that was obviously not occurring. So there is an upside to this, even if it's working for a couple of years.
Just to be clear on a couple of points from a staff perspective, I want you to be aware, this does not bring any direct revenue to the village.
Thank you.
And the issue is not the visibility of cars, it's the waiver of parking requirements. We get a lot of requests, a decent amount to waive parking requirements. As you know, we have a couple of gravel lots in the downtown. That's a kind of a separate issue, but in the industrial type developments, specifically related to right now, there's a request from 590 Healy. We get requests to waive parking requirements that are in place. So I just wanted to make you aware that this does come up frequently, and opening the door further will bring additional requests, and I want you to make sure you understand that. But this could be seen as an extension of what's been already granted in a way.
I guess I would say, as far as no direct revenue to the village, that indirect revenue or secondary or tertiary revenue is just, I mean, if people are spending money at the gas station, the village is still going to benefit. It's just going to pass through one set of hands first.
If it just ends up a parking lot, where's the revenue going to come from, Scott? I mean, I don't want to beat it up or anything, but, we went ahead and we waived all these requirements for the truck lot. On its face, I really don't care as far as putting a few cars there, but it's just going to be a parking lot. I haven't heard any real logic supporting this idea that I personally can agree with or support, but the idea on its face doesn't pose an issue for me.
I mean, I guess I would say that all those cars and all those trucks and all those bodies that are driving all of the aforementioned vehicles got to get gas, food, soda, chips, and hot dogs or whatever somewhere. And that property actually has all those facilities right on the property.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff.
Who gives a
Jeff Newing.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer a repetitiveness of what we wrote in our letter. Just within the past 6 years, we've invested $18 million and 180,000 square feet of development to East Dundee, which can be very much directly related to truck parking and the waivers that have been granted to us so far. And that's how it's extended. And we look to hope that this future parking will lead to more buildings and more development in East Dundee. We already have walls built of a new building that is on hold because of this whole COVID thing. But for our next building, 250 Patricia, and we hope to have many more in this front area, those 2 lots that you referred to in the beginning. And then as we finish development in the back, more buildings back there. And this has just helped finance that from now until then.
Could we potentially talk about a sunset on this, since this is being proposed, you know, as an emergency kind of issue because of the contracts that we're trying to accommodate that have already been in place? It's a concern to me that what was temporary with the truck parking, and now extending this to this, and because we're opening up the door and creating a slippery slope for car parking in other areas that are unpaved, I'm hoping that might be something that would be considered as an accommodation, because we're in such an unusual situation right now.
So, Kathleen, would you be, I guess I could throw this out to Joe and Peter, would you be opposed to saying that this runs for a 2-year term and then it has to come back before the board for an extension? Obviously, you'd want it to go forever, but is that something that you can do? I mean, there's not a huge investment. You're going to be putting grindings down and preparing the surface, right?
Preparing the surface now.
Okay. So if we were to craft an ordinance that said, you know, this is valid for 2 years, and then you would have to come back again, you know, for an extension in front of the board, would that be something that you'd be okay with?
We would hope for it to be able to be for longer in case the tenant desires to continue.
Do we have any idea of how long I mean, first I heard about this, it was going to be a year or less. So what's the game plan? You guys entering into a contract with them for long term? We should know about it.
They have initially asked for 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
That seems to work then.
And I mean,
we obviously want the sales tax benefit to continue beyond that.
Yeah.
What sales tax is that?
Just the people that it would bring.
Man, that's really, really thin logic. But I wouldn't have any problem giving you a 2-year waiver on the, the parking lot and everything that you request. But I would also think that, hey, if this is going to be a permanent gig, then I think the board ought to consider the notion of a parking tax. We went ahead and shelved this one before for the trucks, and the waivers on that lot, on the lot on the stuff that
You're breaking up.
that's not to be the case. And I think what we've done, and I'm getting an unstable connection here. It says I don't know why, but
ironic.
I would agree if ADESA is looking for what is a 2-year temporary request for spillover parking, any problem waiving the requirements for a parking lot for that period. Anything beyond that, I would absolutely want to revisit this notion. And if it was going to turn into a permanent thing, then I think the village should consider its long-term view on this.
Hey,
The
Jeff,
way we've got,
Mhm.
I mean, the idea that we're making sales tax because an unmanned parking lot is going to bring in gas when they bring cars over and stuff like that, that's kind of thin.
okay.
But what we're talking about is 60 acres worth of land to the village that we're getting nothing in return for
Sales tax doesn't mean,
beyond 2 years. And I think we should reconsider what our options are.
But Jeff, what are we getting on it right now? It's dirt,
Nothing.
correct?
Yes, right. And that's what I'm saying. For the 2-year period that Odessa is looking to park their overflow cars on it, I'm fine with the idea. Go ahead and put down the crush grindings. We can skip the medians. We can.
Your AOL connection's breaking up again.
We can skip the landscaping, the lighting, everything else. Here's it becomes permanent, and I think we should look at this a little deeper. Then once 2 years is up, come back and if you want to extend it, great. Come on back to the village and we'll talk about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Joe, can you live with that? Jeff, you got your hand up. Go ahead. You're on mute, though.
I'm putting my hand up for Peter Bezos. His camera's not working, but he's gonna talk.
That's okay. Peter. Peter?
Oh, hang on a second, Peter. Go for it. That's not gonna work.
Board members, can you hear me or no?
Yep.
Hey, Peter, I'm gonna call me back on your phone. Call me back. I'm sorry. Give me a moment, please.
Some wicked feedback.
Go ahead, Peter.
Board members, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I just bought this laptop and I guess I cheaped out and didn't buy a camera or a microphone. But anyway, here's what I wanted to say about this 2-year idea. The establishing this parking is not free for Joe. He's got to put the grindings down. He's got to grade and put grindings down. Then he's got to monitor the situation. So, this is an investment by him as well. But I think you can see what Joe's intent is from looking at Terra Business Park, the first part. There was nothing happening. Then the truck parking occurred. And did he just stay with truck parking? No, he built buildings. And when he built buildings, by the way, those parking lot waivers went away. All of his building parking lots fully comply. So, we think probably history is the best lesson here. That truck parking made this park explode, and we think it's going to keep going, especially given perhaps the new way of delivery, et cetera. So we're hoping that the board will give us this waiver and let
I apologize. He just got disconnected.
Okay.
Would there be any, I think the points that were made by Jeff and some others were well taken that, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at this at some point in the future. I just wonder, especially with everything going on right now, and we don't know when Speedway is going to open, there's a lot going on right now. I wonder if 2 years is too short, but I can understand the need for a review.
I'm just joining back in.
Make it 5. Because the hope would be is that they would be developed before then anyway. So it would be a moot point.
So Kathleen, this was your suggestion there. What are your thoughts?
I echo some of the same concerns with Jeff as far as, we just giving this away without any kind of revenue that the village is receiving. Yes, there's some promissory notes for, what can happen for the future. But here's the thing, I think part of what makes East Dundee attractive is because we're less expensive, and we're not going to be like a Hoffman Estates and say no to Adesso, you need to pave all your lots if there's any other space available. And so we offer something, and the fact of the matter is, Peter and Jeff and Joe, yeah, I agree. You're going to have to put some investment into preparing the lot with the grindings and grading and whatever you need to do. But the fact of the matter is you're getting a contract too from them to use the lot, and so you are reaping some reward. So I would really want to try and stick to having, since the contract, you said that the contract was 2 years, is to definitely have a sunset, keep the sunset in place that aligns with a contract. I mean, you heard from Jennifer that there are other people that are trying to also have the village accept gravel parking in the village. And I, just as we talked about, the appropriateness of gambling licenses and where we want them to go, I think we have to take the same look here. So I don't have a problem with gravel parking in the area that you have designated, but I do have a problem with us just carte blanche saying, forever and ever, you guys can have that, especially since this is being asked for because of a special situation that Odessa is in.
Well, I guess I would say a couple things in response to that. I mean, tying the term that we grant to the term of the contract creates some business reality difficulties, and that anybody who's ever negotiated an extension of a contract, the uncertainty of knowing whether those rights would exist going forward would make a renewal or even a reasonable extension very difficult.
Agreed.
And I guess Peter's comments, kind of rang true for me in that, we've got history as an indicator of what can happen. I mean, we granted very similar rights in the past, and it led to very extensive development in an area of our town that, using Lael's verbiage, looked like a mortar testing ground. I mean, it's worked in the past, and I don't necessarily think that we should be overly cautious about, not necessarily giving a benefit of the doubt, but just saying it's worked in the past. Let's at least be reasonable and not overly restrictive in this case. Again, it doesn't have to be 5 years, maybe it's 4, whatever it is, but I think 2 years is too quick because, again, there is an investment by the landowner that needs to be recouped. I mean, I don't know what it costs to put down grindings or whatever, and I don't know what the contract's worth, but I don't know. I just think 2 years is too restrictive because, for a number of reasons. One, we have no idea who's going to be on the board in 2 years. I mean, it could be a very different board. It could be a very anti-business board. It could be whatever. Who knows? I just think that, for the reasons that was done in the past and that it actually, in fact, worked for the village, I think we need to be a little less anal.
All right. So, Scott, you raised a really good point there that I was actually just thinking about, and it's just a matter of logistics here. Walk through this with me. This is how I see it. So we were to go ahead and approve a 2-year on this. They have a 2-year contract. They would have to start renegotiating their contract months before they actually became due.
Probably 6.
At the same time, they'd have to negotiate with us prior to that in order to get that to know if they're going forward. So
we would
the more I
actually
think
be talking
about
about
that, that's all going to be a timing nightmare. So here's what I'm going to propose. This, again, is just for discussion and consensus for this evening. So there doesn't have to be complete agreement on this. I just want to take the temperature of the board at this time. So what I'm going to propose, and we'll do this by show of hands, okay? 3 different options for you to choose from the menu to start with. The first one is going to be that we approve this with no strings attached and no term limits. The second one is going to be a 3-year term to then come back to the board and vote for an extension. The third would be a 5-year, where they'd have to come back for the board for approval for an extension. Okay? So let's just take that and see where it goes. So of the board members that are here tonight, how many of you would like to, and I'm just calling this strictly by show of hand, how many are okay with approving something like this drafted with no term limits? I am saying none. Okay, 3 years. I've got 1, 2, 3 attorneys, or 4 board members. And then the last question is, how many do we see that would approve this for 5 years? I've got 2. So at this point, 3 works out. Any wiggle room on there between 3 and 4? Does that make anybody happier? If I was to say 4 instead of 3 or 5?
No.
I've got.
Just keep in mind too, and not that this matters, but we had a desk on the line, and I'm
painfully aware of that, Jeff.
Huh?
I said I'm painfully aware of that. I was in those meetings for 4 years.
This wouldn't even have been an issue if we, if we would have just, handled it a little differently. But
they actually paid more in fees when they went to Hoffman Estates, and then they have to pay Cook County property taxes. So I'm
right.
The only argument was they didn't have enough land for both them and for Illinois Auto Auction. That was the deal breaker, and I can't create land.
Well,
okay, so unless anybody else has something that they can throw out there, it looks to me like the consensus on the board right now is that we move forward with drafting this as a 3-year term, and then to come back for an extension from the board. Unless anybody's got any great ideas. Going once, going twice. Okay. I think we're there.
Good enough.
Okay. Very good. Joe, Peter, everyone else, thank you for being here. If you'd like to hang on and listen to our call, feel free. Otherwise, I won't be appended. If you,
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, item F is a motion to approve a concession license agreement for the caboose. If we can have a motion on item F, please.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution approving a first amendment to a concession license agreement, caboose concession stand, Depot Park.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. Discussion?
I have an item or question. We're talking about extending this for 5 years.
Yep.
Does that in any way concern anyone, or with regard to perhaps the development of Doderline lot, for one?
No.
For two, we're talking about the rent remains at 5% gross sales. When we talk about what the village's end of this is, it doesn't look like we're making anything on this deal. And this is like a free business license for someone to come in and run this thing. And there's no downside to the proprietor, which, other than just being able to provide the ware, which is fine, there's no, 5% of the gross sales comes to the village, but how much of that goes right back out in maintenance of the caboose? That's my question. The village is getting, I don't know what the village, we're not making anything on it. That's for sure.
No, we're absolutely, you're absolutely spot on. We're not making anything on this. In fact, we may actually be taking a slight loss on this. We do have to do maintenance. However, I will say this.
That's what I wanted to ask you. And if that's
you're breaking up again. I'm gonna wait for a second. Mute yourself for just a second. We've obviously had a hard time getting a good, capable operator for that location. We have struggled with that. Several other people have tried. Several other people have failed. One with experience, one without experience. It's a difficult thing. It does act as an attraction for the downtown, specifically off the bike path. I believe it's an attractive attraction. No, that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. It's a nice feature to have, and I would like to not. I would like to break even on this, but I think that the ability to maintain the current ownership there is worth a 5-year contract. And you know, for him also, this is another case of, you know, does he stay? Does he expand resources into this thing, and does he stick it out? And for him, a 5-year extension made sense. So that's where we're at with that.
I mean, honestly, it's going to be a challenge because the caboose is not currently winterized to attract other people as well. And I appreciate the fact that he's there. Would I like him to be a little bit more consistent in his opening hours? Yes, but we're under, you know, strange times right now. If he was more consistent in his opening hours, you know, if there were a minimum number of hours that we could say on the times when it is open and it is functioning, you know, per week, that we could tie to him being open, that's something that, you know, might help with the consistency. I've talked to a lot of people that have a hard time of knowing if they go down there, if he'll even be open, or not. So I think part of his success and our success with him as a tenant and having some revenues generated depends on a little bit more consistency. And I'm hoping that we could work with him on that.
So let me just share something.
I think,
oh, go ahead.
I think I 100% agree with Kathleen. I also think that along with some set hours, if we're going to extend this contract for 5 years, knowing we're only going to continue to get 5% out of it, which again, if he has consistent hours, but he also does his own marketing to show those hours, that would increase the 5% revenue for us as a village, which may end up covering what it's costing us. So I don't have any problem with having this extension for 5 years, but he's got to get a little more organized and a little more market oriented towards that business. So, you know, we have, so it's not embarrassing us, because as much as we all love when it's open, those questions of when's this guy open, when's this guy not open, doesn't look good on us either, guys. So he's got to be a little more committed to an organized business for us to give him that, is my opinion.
So just one comment from myself. I believe Jennifer was in this meeting as well too. A few years ago, Butcher on the Block, when they were operating that, when they decided that they could no longer do that, and it was mostly a time commitment due to their other operations. But we sat down with them at length and talked about all the things that made you, that made them either, you know, what were the pros and cons of the business model? One of them was that they basically stated that at their 10% or whatever the number was, they couldn't make money. They had staff to pay, they had other things to do there. And the restaurant model is, you know, runs on a razor's edge. There just wasn't a margin in there that was good for them. And one of the other key takeaways were, we were very restrictive on the days and the hours. You had to be open from this date to this date. I believe it was, whether it was Mother's Day through October. We were, you know, Monday through, I forget what it was. It wasn't 7 days a week, and it was certain hours. And that was very hard on them too. The feedback that we got was, there's days, and they know whether it's a Monday or a Tuesday where they're not going to get any customers, and they still had to hire the staff to do that. So we left a little more flexibility in this, just because, again, we talked to the prior operator who has lots of experience in the restaurant business, and these were some of the things that they pointed out that said, this is why we can't operate this anymore. Yes, number one was a time constraint, but the other was that because this is a different model, because it's a caboose, because they can't open in the winter, because a lot of things, because when it rains, they don't do much business. They had just asked for a little more flexibility. So I'm just going to throw that out there and some background and history on that. But I agree with both your points. They need to come up with a schedule. They need to publish it. They need to advertise themselves.
Exactly.
Do better marketing.
And you know what? If it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday only, that's fine. Just do that.
Okay.
I want them here. I love them here.
I
just
tend to,
don't-
go ahead, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm done.
Okay.
I tend to trust him on his hours. I think that if being open more, we're going to make him more money, he would probably do it, is my guess. I'm open to, I would say, revisiting this 5%. It'd be helpful, I think, to get, actual numbers on both what he's paying and what we're paying, and see what the numbers are at. And if we are going to commit to 5 years, allowing him in there, I think we do have to make sure that, it makes sense for us financially. I don't think we should commit to continuing to lose money on something that, might not really necessarily need to lose money. If it goes up to 6% or whatever, that maybe that's not all that uncomfortable for him. I don't know.
I can speak to that, the expense side and the revenue side. The caboose as it stands today under Duke's, we did earn $3,600 in revenue. Now that doesn't sound like a lot. We used to collect 10% gross sales prior to having to reduce it in an effort to recruit an operator. When we were charging 10%, we were making less than double. So Duke's has been the most successful operator we've had. They've made the most money. They are paying a little bit less rent only because we're charging 5%. The expense side is difficult. There are things that are challenging about the caboose, which is why the expenses at $4,900 in the same time period exceeded the revenues. One primary example is a refrigerator has been placed outside and inside of a shed. It's just not conducive to the way a refrigerator should operate, so it malfunctions. And we've had to spend a lot of time investigating how to best get that refrigerator operate when it's 95 degrees outside. So we have a lot of challenges like that. We have a lot of sinking bricks, the way in which the caboose was shored up underneath. So things that are just going to be constant maintenance. We're fairly close to breaking even. One of the things we did with Duke's was we changed where we're providing the water, since we are the water utility, but now they're providing the electric and the gas fees. So, and they're also providing the garbage. So we did benefit, there were some positives also in addition to the revenue, but I can tell you that Duke has made the most money out of the caboose operators. So his model, as President Miller said, does work better than the other models with greater overhead. But not approving this 5 years does not mean we can find an operator that's more successful.
Right.
Or that the expenses will go down. The expenses will be there no matter what. He does take care of some of the minimal expenses, and that's part of the original caboose agreement. But the major repairs are the responsibility of the landlord, which is the village.
And he did a lot of improvements last year to the front, adding in more areas for seating along the railings, as well as to stand at and eat at. Mm-hmm. So my initial comment was more in regards to having a better, more reliable service, not that I was not in favor of him continuing.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
The one thing I wanted to make sure that the board was also aware, Brad and I worked with Duke to craft some regulations on how the caboose would be open during the coronavirus. Clearly under the governor's order, takeout and carry out is allowable, but we did work with Duke. We do have a policy in place on how that will be conducted. I did hear through the grapevine, and it was on the governor's Facebook page, that there were others congregating around the tables at the caboose. So, but just so you know, we are not going to allow that as a landlord. We're going to be strict, that we follow the governor's orders, and Duke knows how, we're choosing to conduct business during this time period. So I just want to make the board know that we're trying to limit our liability as a landlord during this crisis.
Good. Okay. All right. Jennifer, you want to call the roll on item F, please?
Absolutely. Trustee Coonsey?
Yes.
Trustee Wood?
Well, before I vote yes, how are we going to address the issues that Kathleen and I brought up regarding Duke basically being held to standard operating hours, as well as, some marketing strategies? So, I mean, that was kind of our point.
I agree with your marketing strategy. As to the standard hours, I think that there's some flexibility. I would like him to have consistent hours. I don't know what standard.
Consistent. That's what I mean, Leo. Consistent. Yeah.
And the other thing to understand about Duke's business, for those of you that don't know, if you know, forgive me, but he does currently, it's the world is changing so fast, I can't keep up with my tenses. He did have a operation that he was running out of Santa's Village. Obviously that's closed. He was using this as a base of operations for that. Plus he also does a lot of catering.
Right.
So there are days when he is somewhere else or he's doing something else, and this is not functional and operational. So we can sit down and talk to him and work with him. I'm sure, knowing Duke, that he's going to be quite amenable to saying, we're going to be consistent, whether it's Wednesday through Sunday or
exactly.
whatever,
that's all.
and publish it.
Right.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking, that we put in place before we give this 5-year agreement.
Trustee.
Well, can I just interject one thing before the roll out thing? Actually, two things. One, if we go ahead and grant 5 years, is that going to pose any sort of problem in the event that that land there were to be redeveloped and the village would want to work with a developer coming in? He holds a 5-year lease on that business. Does that pose any sort of problem for the village in the event we would either want to move that or do away with it before the
I can
opt out, President Miller. We have a 30-day opt out.
Okay. The other question I have is, I thought he also had an operation or a location that he worked from in Elgin, and I've had a couple of people question the housing the smoker there. The caboose is one thing. The smoker has raised a couple of questions, and I'm wondering does it need to be there? And I think that's been the question that has been the question that's been posed to me, and I didn't really have an answer for it. I'm wondering, if product or whatever is being prepared in East Dundee and then sent over to other locations, Elgin or wherever, can that be reversed, rather than to see that in the parking lot?
I'm not aware of him having an operation in Elgin. We could certainly ask the question.
Okay.
Is Duke on the phone by chance? There's a few. I'm just making sure Duke is not on the phone. We did provide him with the call-in instructions. Right, Catherine?
I don't, unless it's one of these phone numbers,
Okay.
I don't see him.
I'm just checking to make sure Duke wasn't on the phone, so he could answer that.
Okay.
Just so you know, in the original license agreement, not in this amendment, we do require specific and consistent hours. He just hasn't always satisfied that, and for practical purposes, we've let it go, but we can certainly enforce whatever the board would like us to enforce.
I think that meets their request.
Catherine says that Duke is on the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Duke is on the phone. Maybe he has to be unmuted here. Maybe he's not sure how to do it.
Sure. I have a couple
224
of
number.
224-587.
Yep.
2677.
Let's see.
Duke, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, that's
Can you hear
him.
me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sweet. So I do appreciate the feedback about the opening hours. The way that I operate down there, as far as the hours goes, we do have hours where we were open Tuesday through Sunday. And the motto is once the meat is sold out, I mean, I'm pretty much have to be sold out. There's only so much meat you can smoke and food you can cook and prepare. I think that we've been in a fortunate position to sell food and be able to sell out of food. And as far as like the COVID-19 stuff going on right now, I had to scale back the hours because I don't want to be around people as much, you know? So I'm just trying to do like Saturday and Sunday just to kind of have a little downtime.
All right.
Oh, and sorry about that. I was having a hard time. I was sneezing a lot early, allergies. And like as far as the smokers and everything kind of goes in the location in Elgin, I do not have a location in Elgin. I did something with Kevin a couple of years ago, but that was before I started Santa's Village with Dream Kitchen. And so, yeah, so I do not have a location or do anything in the city of Elgin. As far as that goes, and then as far as the people sitting down at the, sorry about this, I'm dumping a lot of stuff at you guys. It was just kind of hard for me to hear you guys, and I couldn't talk, but I was trying to answer the questions. And then as far as the stuff with the people congregating at the caboose by the tables, I was trying to keep people like 6 feet apart. As far as like if an order was coming out, and we were trying to rush as many people out to the parking lot as far as taking stuff out to their cars. I did think about maybe getting like a security guard or somebody just to kind of tell people like, hey, you got to keep it moving type of deal or whatnot. But we were trying to redirect as many people as possible. I just didn't want to turn it into like a crisis situation or anything like that. Just, you know, try to.
They should really be staying in their cars or whatever until the food is ready. We know that the food takes time, but sitting down,
Yeah.
I think it's from a public perception standpoint too. We don't want people sitting in the tables,
Right.
making it look like it's
It wasn't
open.
it wasn't the people who were doing the pre-orders. Like a lot of people were like, even like they would just bike up and ask questions, but like, you know, so we're constantly talking to people and telling them, trying to tell them the rules and the regulations of the town, you know. But unfortunately, like on a nice day, I mean, people are going to be outside. Like I'm doing my part of selling, as far as telling people like, hey, like you can't sit here, you got to go do this, you got to go do that or whatnot. But I can't force a decision. Like, you know, I can't force them to like do something. I can tell them what they should do, you know. And we were doing that, but as far as like people constantly stopping and asking questions, I mean, how do you really stop that?
Yeah, hey, Duke, this is Kirsten Wood. I don't think that is primarily what we're concerned about per se. That's a very specific situation going on due to the circumstances. I think long-term, when we're looking at 5 years, I think what the village is basically just asking for is, even during these times, if there could be consistent hours that you're there and that your ensuring is made public in any way you choose to make it, whether it's Facebook or whatever, but that when people are looking for when is Duke's open in East Dundee, there's a clear message and it's communicated so people have that information.
I agree with that. You know, I actually, so like even with now and with the COVID-19 and stuff like that, we do open just like Saturday and Sunday, and I put that on mine. That's on, like, I try to keep it noted on Facebook. As far as the website, we updated the website as far as like the method ways that people are able to like order and things like that. I keep in contact with, you know, as much as possible with like, you know, my social media as far as my marketing and things like that. That's the reason why, like a lot of folks who came down to get food and who come down to get food, they come down because they've seen something I've done on like, you know, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter or something like that, you know, and they may not have even been familiar with the Dundee, but they come down because they were looking for some barbecue. So, you know, as far as marketing goes, I try to stay in tune with as many people as possible. You know, that's the way to kind of keeps us relevant, and it kind of keeps, you know, people, you know, asking questions about, you know, where's the barbecue place at. So I really try to be on top of that as much as possible.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else?
You're welcome.
All right, Jennifer.
Okay, I'll start over. Trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
Trustee Andreessen,
Abstain.
Trustee Sella.
Yes.
Very good. You, sir, you are set. You can drop off the call if you'd like.
Well, thank you. May the fourth be with you.
Yep.
And also with you.
All right.
Thanks.
Here.
Items G and H are the same here. For those of you who had read the packet, you understand that we need to choose a new website vendor. There's quite a lot of detail and specificity in there regarding the vendor that they chose. So without getting into a whole bunch of discussion on this, unless we need to, do we have anybody that's has issues with the selection that the village has chosen for this?
Well, I just have a couple questions. I mean, we're going with revise. I see that. I'm just wondering, as far as selection logic, why not Town Web? It doesn't appear either one of those two vendors is going to provide notification or agenda software. If that's the case, what are we getting from Revise that we're not getting from Town Web, except for a $2,200 bill that's, a bill that's $2,200 higher?
So before we answer your question, let me get a motion and a second on G and H.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, my fault. So somebody want to make a motion on those and we can move to discussion. Anybody?
I'll make the motion. I'm just trying to scroll back to the beginning of the thing so I can read it.
Yeah. G and H, I got it. We'd like to make a motion for discussion and selection of a new village website vendor.
Second.
Okay.
Actually, just H.
Just H. Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution approving an agreement between the Village of East Dundee and Revise Web Services.
Second.
Okay. Discussion now. So your question is valid. Jennifer, do you have an answer?
Brad, can you answer that question, please?
Yes, Jeff, and Amanda can chime in, as Amanda and Tracy met with all 7 vendors that we got quotes from. But some of the other features, such as notification features or agenda software, we're looking to incorporate that with the financial software that Brandis is looking into. So we're not necessarily looking to incorporate that with the website itself. We'll use that on the finance software side of things as maybe an add-on there.
So Revise is going to provide the financial software that we're talking about?
No,
that's a separate project.
Okay, so what's the connection between the two then? The website?
So the financial software, there's modules that you can add on, one of them being a notification software that we could utilize through there and connect it a little better with the whole financial system and what we do with our website.
So in other words, the financial software package that we end up going with would be able to provide notification software. We don't need to have the web developer to provide that for us.
Correct. And we also, with our communication, we use MailChimp a lot to push out information, as well as Facebook.
Right.
So we necessarily do not use our website to push out information and notify residents of stuff.
Okay.
And Trustee Lineham, what I've found in redesigning websites, basically they're picking the best website product as far as the software and the ability to edit in-house. Many times these municipal websites will add on other features that aren't necessarily done very well and aren't useful. So we would rather go with, for example, if we do change notifications, we'd rather go with something that's tied to our water billing system, because then all of our emails would be come from our water billing customers, and then we would have a bigger base versus sometimes these website services don't always provide. They'll provide like a constant contact or like an e-blast service, but it's not necessarily good. We wanted to choose a website vendor that's good at websites. The other features aren't necessarily important to us. And so that's why you don't see that. They're not necessarily apples to apples. Is that, Brad, would you agree with that?
I would agree.
So can I ask if any one of these vendors were used by local municipalities? I know West Dundee, didn't they just redo theirs recently, their website?
No, we're moving from that.
No, I know of it. I thought they had redone it, which is why we were pulling away.
No.
Weren't they in the process of reworking their whole web service? I was just wondering if any of these, if we've got examples, I suppose, of, could we go out to another website that's already been established that we know has been developed by any one of these other vendors? And
Yes.
kind of, get a live comparison kind of thing.
The packet included some great examples, Jeff. Did you read the packet?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at it.
So Jeff, like
And it tells me
the
about-
Village of Glencoe, Tinley Park use Revise.
See, Glencoe. What page is that on? I'm on page 71 and 70.
78.
78.
With all the Illinois clients like Jacksonville, Illinois.
Addison.
Okay, let's see. Well, these are ones that are developed by Revise, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I was kind of, okay. Well, what I was talking about though was the other ones that we didn't go with. I mean, if we were to be able to, something that we could use to compare. I guess I know that's the legwork that Brad and Amanda had to do, but I'm just wondering if there were any examples of other municipalities that were done by, like, say, Civic Live or Municode or Proud City or whatever, and that we could compare to the one we're talking about going with. So
Amanda, I don't know if you want to chime in. Amanda and Tracy did a nice job at researching the different vendors. I don't know, Amanda, do you have any comments?
Okay, so we looked at all of them, and after comparing, Revise had the most modern one, and they tailor it to your village, so it will stand out a little bit more. And the features that they had, they just stood out compared to the other ones. A lot of the other smaller towns had templates, and it just did not compare. And when we're going from the website that we have now, we have a long way to go to get modern. And I figured we might as well get the most that we could with the money. And the one that was below it, Town Web, there was templates, and they were okay, but Revise looked much better. And the system that they use, they made in-house, so it's made just for cities. The whole system that they explained it's a little above me, but yeah, just after researching, and I also reached out to people, and I talked to Tinley Park and a few others, and they were happy with the product that they have.
Good.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay. Anything else? Jennifer?
Trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Lineham,
yes.
Trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
Trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
Trustee Salad.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We need to move on. We've got a motion on approving fines and fees and fines. If we could have a motion on item I, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 37 fines or fees and fines and Chapter 92 animals of the Village of East Dundee Village Code regarding animal control.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have one quick question here related to this. I guess two questions. We're limited to 4, and I'm sorry, it's 3 dogs per house. Is that a change, or is that the way that it was?
I think that's the way it always was.
It's 3 dogs or 3 cats or 4 of any combination.
George, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you see me?
No.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
But I believe that is no change, Leo.
Okay, that's what I thought. The other question I have, and I'll just throw this out there, this is basically with some updates that we've done, and again, just basic housekeeping, but I had a request or a question from a young kid in town who his mother suggested that they build a chicken coop and use their spare time to build something nice. And one of the questions he asked was, why don't we allow ducks? So I'm going to throw that out there and say, as long as we haven't had any issues with chickens, anybody have any problem with going out and having ducks as well?
Everywhere, quack, quack, huh?
I'm a big fan of duck eggs, so.
That's what I've heard. Never had one.
They're awesome.
We'll talk about it at a future meeting then. In the meantime, we have a motion and a second on this. Any other discussion? Jennifer?
Trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Lineham.
Thank you.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Andreessen.
Yes.
Trustee Feller.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. The reports were still on meetings every day, it seems, with everybody trying to figure out what's happening. I will share one thing is that I'm following some new charts and some new trend lines that look very promising, that the state of Illinois, even though the numbers are still going up, we did have a dip in the deaths today, but it looks like we're either a week away or 2 weeks away from the peak of this thing, and then it's going to start going down. So if there's any good news, that's the only thing I've seen this week. Other than that, we'll go around the board. Trustee Mahoney.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the email that was sent, I believe, to a few people. An idea from Lucy and Tim DeLapp regarding a car parade similar to what is on a Monday, to replace the Motor Monday for one time, similar to what teachers are doing, and to just kind of bring a little joy to the village. It would be a one-off, as she calls it, non-event. And so I was just hoping that we could at some future time discuss whether or not we think that might be a good idea or not, and if we wanted to start entertaining a possible date, if that was something that we wanted to pursue.
I would be interested in discussing that with staff and with Lucy. My issues immediately would be, if you're driving down a residential street and people on your porches or on their front lawn, that's fine. If you're driving past the depot and there's a crowd of people that are gathered there to see the cars, we have an issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to work out what the route was, what the time of day was. There'd have to be a lot of things that we discussed, but I'm certainly open to that.
Great.
I would be a little bit worried about, when you have all those cars downtown, that's one thing, everybody understands what they're in for, but driving very, very noisy cars and motorcycles down residential neighborhoods might be a problem for some people with dogs and things like that.
Yep, agreed. There's a lot of issues to think about. This isn't simple. I mean, you're all going to have to meet someplace. You're all going to have to go in a route together. So I'm not sure we're there yet, but I'm at least willing to entertain a discussion.
Right, and I think even if it was more towards the end of the summer, once we knew something more, or what's happening right now, reveals itself a little bit more. It's something definitely down the road, but it would be nice to open something up in a more moderate and controlled way.
Yeah, I think hot air balloons would be the thing right now, because that's like social distancing at its best. We have a whole parade of those things going through town. Nobody would care. All right. Anything else, Kathleen?
Yeah, the only other thing was the issue of the flooding that Phil, thank you, and Jennifer, thank you for getting back to me on that. We've talked about this before. The water table is so high in our neighborhood. I still have, it's just unprecedented for the last 2 years, and it keeps going up. So I think we are going to have, it's not going to be a temporary, a temporary problem. I think it's something that's going to be longer lived than we originally anticipated.
You know, there's that too, but then just from a hydro engineering perspective, it's like, I've always wondered what happened when Hager stops pumping water. I mean, I'm sorry, D'Angelo stopped pumping water. I mean, what impact does that have on, you know, the ground level? So, I mean,
Good
if
point.
that's something that we need to take a look at one of these days, just to see if there's going to be any, you know, any engineering there. I don't know.
Well, you thinking if they stop pumping water, obviously the table will rise?
Well, D'Angelo pumped 90,000 gallons of water out of the ground all the time. You know, I don't know whether there's a monthly figure or whatever, but when they stop doing that,
it's going to have an effect.
It's got to. It's got to.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot, anywhere from Route 25 down to Water Street, you can't dig a hole in the ground and not hit either water or rocks. We know that there's live springs every place. So, you know, where D'Angelo used to feed the water system that ran across the river that you know, fed all of West Dundee. So, I mean, as these things start getting cut down, and I don't know if that's, you know, relevant or not, but anyway, we'll move on. That's a good point.
That's all I had.
Okay, Trustee Kunze.
No report.
Trustee Lineham.
You know, I was going to talk to Phil about a couple of potholes that seem to be controllable now. And I'll be darned if I can remember where they are. So I'm going to go tour the village where I rode my bike the other day and find them and call you.
All right. There you go.
There are quite a few around town. We're aware of a lot of them. No doubt.
Yeah, there was a couple, and I mean, it was two right in a row. They were not very large, but they were deep. And I thought, wow, you know, that's got the potential to grow. So if we were to get it now, we might, you know, be able to nip a bigger problem. So I'll get back to you, Phil.
Good. Trustee
Okay,
Sullivan.
thank you.
Trustee Sullivan.
No report.
Trustee Wood.
Just curiosity, the business opening on Water and 72. Can I get an update on that?
What was that? I'm sorry.
You're talking about 1 East Main? My understanding is it's
Yes.
Yeah, so my understanding is it's a hairdresser. There was a shop over in West Dundee called, I believe it was a Cut Above the Rest, although I could be wrong. The one that was over by the Little Duck Store.
Yeah.
West Dundee acquired that property.
Oh, right.
And she had to move. I believe that it was, whether it was her son that acquired the property. She's moving in there as a hairdresser. He has plans to take over part of it as an office and something else. So it's under construction. I don't think we have anybody from building here. I know that they pulled the permits. I know that they've been working on it.
Chris, I think Chris might be the iPhone. Chris, are you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you
So
comment?
Chris, just out of curiosity, because in the past we've had such significant water problems in that building. And I'm just wondering what the new tenants have done as far as getting a handle on that.
I mean, they haven't modified anything as far as the handling the water.
I can tell you what the issues are, because I hired an engineer to go out there and do the research on that years ago. It's pretty simple. It's not water coming from the river and never has been. They have a small basement on the front of the building that actually
the window well, isn't it?
It's it's a little weirder than that, right? So there was a window that used to face out under the sidewalk on Route 72. And keep in mind that on older buildings, what happened is the streets keep getting higher and higher and higher as Route 72 keeps getting built by IDOT or whatever. And it turns out that that was the source of the water was inflowing. It was the water running down underneath 72 from Route 25 trying to get to the river that would then make a sharp right turn. And that was never filled in at some point when IDOT last did the work on the project. So the answer from the engineer was that they basically, to fix the problem once and for all, was to seal up cinder block and mortar that window casing, put a sump pump in there, and just blow a hole out to the window, out the wall, and just pump it if it ever did. Just like at that point, it's no different than anybody's basement. But it was actually a cheap fix. They were looking at, I want to say it was like $6,200 for the whole thing.
So it was completed, Lyle?
No, that's what, from my understanding, again, talking to several engineers, that's what would be required to fix this. I don't know if they've done that work yet. That's, Chris can answer.
And I guess the reason I'm asking is because we've had several tenants and the owners requesting to have tenants in that facility over the past 5 years that we've continuously kind of looked at it from the standpoint that the owners were not willing to really put any money into that space to get it where it needed to be to have tenants have a successful business. So my question is did the owners actually end up putting the money into that building, or are they doing a cosmetic facelift for this new business that could then end up having other issues because the real problems weren't fixed?
Well, I guess there's two parts of that question. One, I can't answer, which is, have they filed for a permit or any plans or drawings? And it sounds like Chris is saying no. The part that I can answer is, in the past, you had a building owner that did not want to spend the money on maintenance, which is why the building has deteriorated. They would have a tenant in there, and then 6 months, 9 months later, the tenant would run away because there was some flooding.
Exactly.
However, now you have a situation where somebody owns the building and is putting their own business in there. So I would have to say that things are different simply because they should be self-motivating to do that. They're not. Okay. Right?
So the building having changed hands should have alleviated that problem altogether?
Well, it's not going to solve the problem of water coming in, but if you just bought a building and have spent that much time and money fixing it up, I would hope that, that would be the minute that you saw that issue, you would fix it.
Right. All right.
I don't know if they're aware of that or not.
Okay.
So Brash finally sold, huh?
Yeah.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Andreessen.
No report.
Very good. Moving right along here, Village Attorney. Oh, sorry, Village Administrator.
Thank you. Brad just texted me during the meeting that the Depot Market has canceled for the season. So I just wanted to let you know we were in the process of touching base with them anyway. Lael and I also, last Wednesday, we participated in a little Zoom meeting that the chamber hosted, and they invited the chamber members and the public. It wasn't a huge attendance, but it was a nice opportunity to talk about what the villages has been doing with regards to COVID-19. And Becky Gillum was there on behalf of DeWitt's office, and Lauren was there from River Street. So that was a nice opportunity that we had. One other thing I wanted to let you know is there's been a lot of Zoom meetings, just a lot of meetings in general, but on Wednesday, as part of Metro West, I will be participating in a meeting with Senators Castro and DeWitt and Representatives Wheeler and Moeller. So 3 of those cover East Dundee. So that's a good opportunity to hear what they're doing with regards to COVID-19, and a good opportunity for us to push our agenda. I think, as you know, the 2.2 trillion that came out, the local government share is going straight to the state of Illinois. So what we are having to do now is to lobby to get some of the money to come to the municipalities and not get stuck at the state level. One other thing I wanted to mention is I proposed an idea to President Miller today, and he said, okay, we should do that. I thought it would be nice to purchase some yard signs to put around town, just kind of two-faced. One would be the standard, stay home, save lives, and the other side would be the events cancellation logo that we've come up with, telling people, it's kind of our take, like on the Olympics. What they did is, we'll be back in 2021. So our little logo on one side and on the other side reminding people to stay home and save lives. So purchasing yard signs, and maybe you can help us distribute them if you know someone who's willing to put one, in their yard.
Yeah, trustees are good at putting up yard signs.
Yeah, they are, but make sure you wear your masks while you do it. And if you need masks, we have them available. So obviously, you're an important part of this village. and we need to be healthy. We do have a proper stockpile of PPE, and we have resources to order more. So if you need masks, please let us know. Lastly, I don't want to talk too long, but we need you to be eyes and ears for us too. We're trying to be proactive in our approach, but oftentimes we're hearing from you and we are reacting. So if you see a business that's operating in a way they shouldn't be operating, or if you see masks not being worn in a setting where they should be wearing masks, please let us know. We will respond. You know, the police are doing that with a gentle hands and a reminder. And I even talked to Chief Carpenter about offering masks to someone who doesn't have a mask. Whatever we have to do to keep everyone safe and in compliance. We've had some difficult businesses that we've had to address, but for the most part, we're able to just give some gentle nudges and help the situation. So please let us know you're in town, and we could use anything you can offer us in that capacity. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Yeah, just one, I'm going to add one comment onto Jennifer's comments there. I am seeing more and more places that have signs on the doors now. So obviously with the governor's new edict as of the 1st, you're supposed to wear a mask. And again, it's when you're in a public space and you can't maintain safe social distancing. And what I've been saying a lot of the last couple of days, I think, and it's probably just because it's a new thing, and sure there's some people that are overly paranoid, and sure there are some people that just don't understand the rules, but I'm seeing people driving around in their cars wearing masks. And that's not the point. I'm seeing people walking down the bike path when there's absolutely nobody on it and they've got a mask on. I'm also seeing people going to the grocery store with a mask and the latex gloves where they absolutely touch everything, touch their car handle, get back into their car. It's like, it's not the point of the gloves either. So, I mean, there needs to be a little more common sense, on both ends of this. Wear your protective stuff when you need to, but on the other hand, it's like, you don't need to be wearing a car by yourself.
Pretty tall order, Leo.
I know, common sense is not common. I've said that enough times. All right, village attorney.
No report this evening. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Village engineer, Joe.
No report, guys.
Very good. Chief of police.
Well, let's keep a good thing going. I have no report.
Awesome. Public works. Don't screw it up, Phil. Okay. Chris, anything from building?
No report.
All right. I do not see his finance here.
I don't think so.
I see an iPad and an iPhone, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Seeing that we have one last item on here, which is public comment on anything. Do we have anybody there? Yep, I see Russ. You're on mute though, so you want to unmute yourself if you want to talk?
Sure.
You're good?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I heard over the weekend, I was hanging out by Duke, helping them serve some food, trying to keep people out of the way, keeping people safe, all those good things. I've been in this town for 25 years. I've watched the town go from nothing to something even greater. And then we have Corona set in. I know myself, I'm a business owner. I haven't received any government help. I've just been surviving. Hard work gets you someplace. So I've done it, and I was panicking. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but somehow I'm sitting here and I still got the lights on and I'm able to talk to you. So, but one of the things I heard over the weekend is we're canceling all summertime events, all the way down to Dickens. If there is a miracle cure, I'm sure a lot of things would change. But me as a village person, somebody that likes to explore outside, can we at least give this village something to hope on? I mean, the car thing, I love the idea. I volunteer every time for the car show to park cars. I'm a car guy, so I really like to see something with the car show because it's just something that I see the people out there enjoying it. People come from all over the place to bring their beautiful car out of the garage to display it for us. And, some sort of hope would give myself as a resident here something to look forward to. If things go bad and get worse, fine, we cancel it. We canceled the parade 3 days before it was scheduled to go off. It doesn't matter the 12 weeks we got invested into setting it up. We canceled it. If we can have some glimmer of hope to have some greatness in this town of a party, a picnic, a parade, whatever it may be, can we at least schedule it? And if it's got to be canceled, we cancel it, but give us something to breathe for and something to entertain us, because people love Dundee. I've watched Friday and Saturday night this town be dead, from Bandinos all the way down. And it's, you know, I've been here 25 years. I've never seen nothing on River Street active.
Right.
And it's sad.
Yep.
You know, over the weekend, watching people just take their food and go sit in the grass and eat it. What if we just close all of downtown from cars and make it our you know, our eating area? You know, it's our culinary area of the village. Why not put more tables 10 feet apart and give them an option? Do something different in Dundee that at least we could keep our people coming to it and we still make money. You know, having no events, that's horrible. It's just horrible. It depresses me all the way to Dickens and Dundee. That I volunteer for too. You know, so all these things that I volunteer for, I want something. And I know the people out there want something.
We do too. All good comments, all right on, Russ. I feel you. I live downtown. I see it dark and desolate, and you know, we just spent what, 9 years building the damn thing. So I mean, nothing hurts me worse than to see the engine shut off. I will tell you this though. I don't know if this is throwing out any hope or not, but Jennifer and I have talked. I don't believe that we have made a final decision on that. I think we're going to hold that off there and see, just because it happens to be in the wintertime. We can let that ride and see what happens. And if there's a miracle cure between now and then, or we have to do something where we don't have 600 kids together watching a tree, you know, we'll leave that olive branch out there. And hopefully that's something that we can talk about.
Okay. I just wanted to voice
Russ, I heard your concerns earlier too. Before, Lael, before you were on, Russ was expressing a lot of concerns, and I promise you, we feel exactly the way you feel. We're just as frustrated as you are, and you know, we would even hold out hope for Oktoberfest, but the amount of planning and the financial impact on that one is just, we you know, we can't do that one for sure, but we are holding out hope for Christmas. This is killing the board. It's killing the board just as much as, you know, you feeling it, we're feeling it.
I'm trying to figure out what to do with Nightmare on Chicago Street in Elgin. 18,000 people in one night. What do we do?
So far, the nightmare's been pretend. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I appreciate your comments, Ross. We're certainly looking at things, and if a drive-by car thing is not impacting, we can figure it out.
I'd love to do that. That would be awesome. Bring it through residential streets.
Yeah.
We sit on our porch.
Yep. All right. Sounds good.
And cars are awesome at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sound of cars never hurt anybody.
There you go.
Have a good night. Thank you all.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Russ.
Yep.
All right. We have no executive session, so unfortunately, I will accept a motion to adjourn at this point.
So
Second.
All right. Jennifer?
Trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Lineham.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
yes.
Trustee Andreessen.
I want to say no, but I'll just say yes.
Trustee Stella.
Yes.
I said no once.
Just to be contrarian.
Be contrarian. Yeah, what the heck? What are you going to do? All right. That's it. All in for this evening, guys. Thank you for an always entertaining meeting, and we will talk to you soon. Thank
Have a
you.
good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Good night.